It's ready and waiting. Broke heel. He's toying with Ortiz. He did. He goes in for everything. Ortiz, give me that damn hand. And then Ronaldo. What a goal by Cristiano Ronaldo. Sensational.
Alright guys, hello and welcome to another episode of Picks and Predictions. Today we're doing the Premier League round 31. Lots of interesting games. Fight for relegation is still on. Fight for the title is still on. Champions League as well. And there's a lot of interesting games tomorrow and the day after. So I'm really looking forward to making some money with you guys. Before we continue, just want to mention that 1xBet is an official sponsor of this channel and this show. So if you go over there and check their platform that you can see on your screen, you can just use the code 1xKassad while register on Kassad 1x and you get up to 130 euro bonus directly from me. So if you go over there and just make sure you use the code if you register. So I think I'm gonna start right off the bat with the first game tomorrow at 13:13 European time. Aston Villa against Newcastle United. Now Aston Villa is in a great momentum right now. Ollie Watkins is unstoppable, to be honest. Like, he looks very, very confident. He looks like he's gonna score against anyone, and he might as well. So Aston Villa is good defensively too. Ever since they sacked Gerrard, they're playing very well. I think they would be third on the table or fourth if those points only counted in this season. But sadly, they don't. And they're safe. They're not in a relegation fight or anything like that. They're just enjoying football. They're playing really, really well. Newcastle has 3 or 4 wins in a row, and I think they can score as well against anyone. They are looking really good. They're chasing the Champions League spot. I think they're going to get it. And overall, I do believe this game is going to be, full of goals. I think both teams can definitely score against each other. You can see the Newcastle's wins in the last few games were always like 1-2, 1-3, 1-5, even against West Ham, and it was like pretty entertaining football to watch. I think they can score. You can see here that Newcastle had like 1-2 against Brentford, 1-5 against West Ham. They beat Manchester United. They beat 1-2 Nottingham Forest. They beat 2-1. So basically, they always score and they always reconcede. So in the last 5 games, so both teams to score here is a pretty decent option, over 2.5, which offers odds 2 is a pretty good one as well. The second game that we have in the first, at 4 o'clock in tomorrow's, 31st round, we have Chelsea against Brighton. I wouldn't touch Chelsea whatsoever. Like, for them to win, I'm not going to take it. Yes, the odds are good, 2.7 on Chelsea at home. You don't get that all that much, but the way they're playing right now is just ridiculous. They have nothing to play for. They have contractual obligation towards the Premier League to play these games and toward the fans, of course, but I don't think they care all that much where they finish the season, because they're going to be looking to be a much better team, and I think they will in the next season. And one thing that I would probably go for here is Chelsea scoring goals, because they're going to be looking to score goals. I think that there is a massive chance to actually get a 2 or 3 there, because it has to happen at some point. We have to admit that they have a lot of good players and they need to find some form, because they have that game in the midweek next week that is going to determine their season, because they're going to get qualified for the semi-finals of Champions League, or they're going to lose to Real Madrid. They lost 2-0. They didn't score again. Red card. It was just like a very average game. They didn't look like they did like a decent Premier League team, but they didn't look like Chelsea like it should be. So I would look for goals here too, because Brighton is in a good form too. Brighton definitely can score against anyone. And Mitoma was robbed the last round with that handball. That wasn't really a goal. I think it was a goal. I think that wasn't a handball. And the offside wasn't really an offside. It was just a little bit of a shit show when it comes to refereeing in Premier League. Like usually it's really mind-blowing for me that they have the best league and the worst referees there. Just unbelievable. Just import referees if you need to. Just this is terrible. But they can also score against anyone. You see they scored 3 against Brentford, 2 against Bournemouth, obviously against Tottenham, and then 5 to Grimsby, and Crystal Palace 1. But overall, they can score against anyone, and both teams to score over 2.5, also a good option there. Everton, Fulham. Now Everton is a team that is struggling to avoid relegation. Sean Dyche is playing unwatchable football, but it brings results. They got 3 wins in last, I think, 5 home games or something like that. But then I think they are gonna get some points here. Draw not bet at 1.155, 160 is also a good thing. Everton to win with a nil is also a good thing, because Fulham is not going to be playing with Mitrovic again, who is suspended. I feel like till near the end of the season, and they're in a decline. They have nothing to play for. They're safe in the safe zone. They're not going to be relegated. They're fine, and they should have no pressure coming into this game. But I don't think they can win against a very good Everton side at home that also has a massive support. I watched their games quite a bit, and the support they have from the fans are just unbelievable. It's like they're pushing them to another level. No matter how bad they are, they're always pushing them to one level higher. So I do believe one draw or bet or Asian handicap 0 here on Everton is a decent and valid bet, or if you want to go for goals under 2.5. Southampton Crystal Palace. Now Southampton is a team that's probably together with Nottingham Forest the worst team in the league. I don't think they can, it's very hard. It's going to be very hard for them to actually get something done, and it's going to be very hard for them to stay in the Premier League this season. Luckily for them, they're facing Crystal Palace, who is in a good. Ever since they added Roy Hodgson, they're playing well. They beat Leeds United 5-1. They beat Leicester City 2-1 in that wonderful goal in the 95 minute. They lost to obviously to Arsenal and Brighton, who are pretty good teams, and they only lost 1-0 to Manchester City. So overall, they have a decent chance. I think they need 3 or 6 more points, and they should be safe in the Premier League. I don't know where to go for this one. This one is a draw. This one is a no bet for me. I don't trust Southampton. They have some offensive pieces, but I don't trust them whatsoever. If I had to go with something, I would probably go with Crystal Palace to win, but I would just avoid this one. Tottenham against Bournemouth. Now that's the next game that we're going to be covering. Tottenham. We saw them beating Brighton last week, but it was just another average game. I don't think there is much value betting on Tottenham here because Bournemouth is fighting for the relegation. They're fighting really good. They're giving their best. I do believe they're going to make it, because it seems like there is this motivation in them on the way they play. They really want to stay in the Premier League, and I think they will at the end of the day. You see, they beat Liverpool at home, and they beat Fulham as well, and they beat Leicester last week 1-0. So they're fighting the tooth and nails to stay in the Premier League. Now Tottenham, like I said, they might win 4-0, right? But I don't know. I don't trust them at 152. Maybe I would go with Harry Kane to have 2 shots on target, or Harry Kane to score. And if you want to go crazy, you can go Bournemouth to win at 7-1. So that's something that maybe it's worth looking, because Bournemouth is really, really fighting to stay in the Premier League. So Wolves against Brentford, that's the next game. Wolves, they're playing also very well. They're playing really super defensive football like they usually did. They are trying. I think they're nearly safe in the Premier League to stay this season, and they're playing really good at home. Last week they did beat Chelsea 1-0 with that wonderful goal, and that kind of proved my point that they're really good at home, and they can actually perform well. You can see they beat Tottenham and they beat Chelsea and they lost to Leeds, but they drew against Nottingham away and they barely lost to Newcastle away. So they're in a decent shape. I think playing against Brentford, who is in decline, I don't think Brentford can, based on the results they had in the first part of the season, they secured their Premiership spot in the next one, because in the second part there is nothing really going on. I feel like they are different, pretty flat when it comes to this. Yes, they lost only 1-0 to Brentford and 2-1 to Newcastle, but in that second half against Newcastle they showed nothing. In this 3-3 draw against Brighton, they were up 3 times, I believe, but they conceded 30 shots on their goal, and only 3 went in, which was lucky for them, and they had 6 of their own or 7. And they got it 3 times. They're 1-1 against Leicester, who is probably the worst team right now in the league, and they beat Southampton, who's also next worst thing in the league. So I do believe draw no bet here for Wolverhampton under 2.5 goals is a decent thing to go, and I would rather go to draw no bet Wolverhampton, because I think they might win 1-0 or 2-0 without even conceding, because I don't see Brentford conceding or actually scoring any goals. Maybe Ivan Toney, but I just can't see it. If Chelsea couldn't score against them, I don't think Brentford will. So the next game on this one is the last game of the Saturday, is Manchester City against Leicester. What can you say about this game? It's just a clear victory for Manchester City. They demolished Bayern Munich against great performance all over the place. They were motivated. They were all over the field. They were just creating chances. They were winning, and they're going to be in the semifinals of Champions League. But they have still fight for the Premier League title, and they're close because they're facing Arsenal, who lost the points last week, and Leicester City is just a team that looks like they didn't even want to stay in Premier League. That's the way that it feels to me, at least. And I think you can just go handicap here -2.5, -3.5. I think Manchester is gonna even over 1.5 goals in the first half is a thing, but maybe Manchester City wants to get it over with in a very fast fashion and try to close the game in the first 45 minutes so they can rest Haaland and De Bruyne and all these players. But it can either go the other way too, where they put them on the bench from the start, and if it gets dicey, he transfers them into the first lineup, into the lineup in the second half. So my suggestion is this is handicap game, depending on the lineup. If Haaland and De Bruyne and Mahrez and everybody else, Jack Grealish, is in the first lineup in the first half, you go for over 1.5 in the first half. If they're not, then maybe you just go with a handicap -2.5 for Manchester City, which offers maybe 160 or 170. And that's the all Saturday's games. I do believe Manchester City is going to take care of the business there. Now we get into the Sunday's games, and we have two of them: West Ham United against Arsenal. Now I watched West Ham against Ghent. I actually placed a bet on them on draw no bet, and they look terrible. They started with some rotations. I don't know why. They barely got with that point. The goal they scored was in the 48 minutes of the first half, in some moment, the injury time. And I don't think they played well. I think they were all over the place. The defensive line it's always the different one. I don't trust them here. I think Arsenal is going to win this game, probably 2-0, 3-0. Arsenal is fully ready. They dropped the points against Liverpool last week. I don't think it's going to happen today. Today on Sunday. And I do think they're going to win. 162 is just enough for me. I'm probably going to take it because I don't trust West Ham. West Ham is pretty much secured, and they have a really easy schedule. So this game is not a must-win for them. So they have a couple of teams that are in their schedule that they're going to be probably dealing with them much easier than they have to do with Arsenal. So overall, Arsenal to win, decent odds. I think I'm going to take it. The second game is Nottingham Forest against Manchester United. Nottingham Forest is a team that I have no idea where to put them. They're in one of those, like I said, one of the worst teams together with Leicester and together with Southampton, and they spend a lot of money. The most of their points are coming from home, and they're playing home at now. If they have to win this game to actually have a chance to maybe stay in the Premier League. They just have to win against Manchester United. And Manchester United, on the other hand, played draw against Sevilla. They were up 2-0. They conceded 2 goals, own goal by Harry Maguire in the 92nd minute, which was very unfortunate, but they did conceded 2, which was kind of unusual. Manchester United was in a series of wins, 4 wins in a row before that draw. Actually, no, they had 2 wins in a row, and they lost to Newcastle United, and they beat Fulham before that. So overall, I don't think there is a lot of value in betting on Manchester United simply because there is a fire under Nottingham Forest, and it's just they need to get something from this matchup. I would probably avoid this game because it might be a trap betting on Manchester United. If you want to go for something, maybe a low-scoring game, because I don't know how Manchester will field their lineup in that game because they have an important matchup against Sevilla in a few days from now, in the next week. We have one more game left, and I think that's on Monday, and that's Leeds against Liverpool. Now, this game screams goals for me. I think there's going to be a lot of goals. Leeds United has to chase for the points. Liverpool is whatever. They don't have anything great to play for, but they're going to be playing with a good lineup, and they're going to be scoring a lot. Leeds can score against anyone. Liverpool can score against anyone, and the defenses are shaky. I think the Liverpool has a problem. Obviously, Van Dijk is not in the same level he was before. Konate as well. Aleksandar is the same thing. It's just not the same team like it was the last years. So they can concede. Up front, Salah is playing well. Nunes is playing well. Gakpo is all right. And I do believe that they can score multiple against any team in the world, including Leeds United. So this game screams goal for me. I'm going to say over 2.5 at 163. That's a pretty decent offer for me. I think I'm going to take it. That was a quick video, guys, and I hope you enjoyed it. If you like this content, if you have any other predictions, comments, or anything that you think about this round of Premier League, make sure you leave it down below and just, let's try to win some money this weekend. It looks like it's going to be